You don't have to run 50-mile weeks if you're going through keep. Like I don't ever want to come across as someone who's just like, no, this is what you have to do in order to feel better, and that was just for me.
This is Ingrid Walters, actress, runner, swimmer, and breast cancer survivor. We talk about her winning the 2019 LA Marathon Women's Open in 2 hours and 48 minutes.
It was the best I'd ever felt leading up to a marathon.
Keeping her breast cancer diagnosis and treatment private.
And then I thought, oh, I don't want to tell anybody.
Acting during the pandemic.
All auditions are self-tape.
And so much more. This is Run with the Crew. First and foremost, welcome to Long Beach.
Thank you. Love Long Beach.
Appreciate you having you out here.
Yeah.
Were you able to get a run in today?
I did. I had a long run this morning. I had one of my best runs in a long time. Okay. So I did a 15-mile run, but 14 of it was tempo. So.
Nice. Okay.
Yeah, it was great. It was great.
That's a big session. Are you training for any specific races right now? Or efforts?
I was going to do a half coming up, but it's, everything's up in the air. Everything's up in the air. But I always like to stay in shape just in case.
Yeah.
But I'm definitely doing London in October.
That's exciting.
Yes. So I will start my marathon training in May.
Okay.
So I'm just sort of staying in shape because I feel like you have to get in shape to run. You have to get in shape to start training for a marathon. You know what I mean? Like for whatever reason, I don't want to start off not in shape because then it takes me a couple of weeks to get back into shape. So I figure I might as well kind of gradually stay in shape until I'm up to 100-mile weeks again.
Okay, all right. So we got to take a step back. So we're talking 100-mile weeks. For myself right now, I'm definitely more in like the 30-35 boat. I'm excited just to get out for a 20-minute run. You've been marathoning now for how long?
It's probably been 10 years, a little less than 10 years. For time, maybe 8.
Okay.
But before that, it was just for fun. I was just doing it to stay in shape. I was a swimmer before, and so any type of, team stuff or coaching, I was like, I didn't want, after college, I was like, no, I don't want to do that. I want to just, if I feel like going out and working out, I will. Because there was a time I didn't do anything.
So how did you end up in the marathons?
Well, I think it was just, I liked the distance of it, and I liked the challenge of it.
Yeah.
And I wasn't even setting out to do anything. I just wanted to do one. And when I did one, I was like, okay, check. I'm not doing that ever again.
Okay.
And because I think I ran 4 hours, and it was 15 years later. I was like, let me try this again. And I was jogging. I was kind of the occasional jogger, but then I got the Hal Higdon because the internet had just started, and so that makes me sound really old. But that was it's like the internet. The internet had just been developed, and it was. And Hal Higdon had his online marathon. It was free. It was a 3-month or 3.5 month. It gave you what to do every day. I was like, okay, this tells me what to do every day.
Yeah.
I like being told what to do.
Okay.
So I did it, and then you just find yourself getting a little bit faster, and then a little bit faster. But like I said, I wasn't doing it. I was just doing it just because it felt good, and I was getting a little bit better. And then once I started getting down into the 3:10s. That's when I started going, okay, well, I'm getting older, but I'm getting faster. So let me see, where I can take this. And that's when I joined the Janes. And from then it was, there was so many women that were older and running fast, and they had run in college as well. And I swam in college. So I understood kind of where they were at as well. And I just started, when you start running with people, because I wasn't running with people before.
Okay.
And I didn't, because I didn't like to. I was like, no, I don't like running with people.
Why do you like running with people?
I just never liked running with people. I don't like talking. I don't like running with people. And I think that's just from swimming, because you're not, even when you're on a team and you're swimming, you're not talking, because you're always, your head's in the water. So you can be doing this 2.5 hour swim practice, and you're maybe talking 3 or 4 times in the entire session because you're at a wall, you're doing flip turns. You might talk in between sets if your coach wasn't talking. So just not a lot of talking in the sport.
I can understand.
Yeah, and so.
So you swam collegiately.
Yeah,
right?
I swam at UCLA. And so that's when I stopped swimming. That's when I kind of started. I was a lifeguard as well, an LA County beach lifeguard. So there's a lot of running that's involved with that.
Okay.
So that sort of also propelled me to want to see how far I could take this running thing. And when I started kind of getting into the low 310s and then below 310, I remember Tanya, who was the president of the J, she was like, you can probably run under 3 hours. I was like, what? Because that was the big thing,
Yeah.
It was like the thing. Oh, let's see if you can run under 3 hours. And then I figured I'd be done. I was like, okay, that's it. And it took me another 5 years to get under 3 hours. I could not crack that. I would be like 3:02. There was one race I ran 3 flat.
Wow.
Yeah, it was like 3:00.02. And I remember, I was like, what? And that's when I got a coach. That's when I found Blue. But even working with him, I still couldn't crack it. And it was just something, I don't know what it was. It was, yeah.
So time frame wise, talk about, I guess, your progression from the point that you got, I guess, to like 310. So you had a 310 while you were training with 310
with Hal Higdon. Yeah.
With Hal Higdon. So you and a book, just
me
working it out.
Me and my printer.
First and foremost, like that's insane. First and foremost, male or female, anyone just coming off the street and deciding that they want to approach a marathon, getting down to 310 is very impressive. And so you got down to that 310. What made you decide to? I need to find some other people to get involved in terms of trying.
I think I missed the team aspect of it, and I knew that getting to that speed required more than what I was doing for myself. And so, and everyone would say, you should join a team. There's so many running teams. And I was like, oh, I don't know. And then I ran into a friend of mine who I worked with on Baywatch, and her husband is a triathlete. He used to be professional, and he's really good. And he said, you should join the Janes. And I'd never heard of them. And so he kind of gave me the website, and I looked, and I was like, I'm going to be the slowest one on the team. Because I looked at everybody's time. I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm going to be so slow. And that's when I met Tanya on a Sunday run. And I've been on the team ever since. I've been on the team ever since 2012. So
that's a really cool story.
Yeah.
And so it sounds like one of the catalysts to you joining a team wasn't just the time; it was also just like a friend's recommendation in terms of a specific team. Because I think but potentially your discomfort, I'll say, with one of the other people.
Yeah.
Just might not have been the thing that made you go look for someone, but the fact that someone came in as a personal recommendation, I feel like it helped break it down.
Absolutely.
And the thing that I try to tell anyone when looking to join a team or find a team, you're finding one person on the team first, and then think about how it goes into other folks.
Exactly. And it was all women, which I had always been. The teams I was always on was always mixed. It was always men and women, and I just had never heard of an all women's team before. And they were running so fast, and there were only a couple of marathon runners. And so we had she's like, oh, you can run with so and so on this days or these days, or and then you start to talk to other people who do the same distance as you and who are faster than you. So that's the key, really, is running with people who are better than you. I mean, because if it's like anything, if you stay at the same place, you'll stay at the same place. You know what I mean? You're not gonna, if you don't train faster, you'll stay exactly where you're at. So you know what I mean? So it's and then that's when I started to think, oh, okay, this isn't so bad.
Okay.
It's not so bad. Like, we're not running fast every single run. And I think in my mind, that's what I thought it was going to be like. It's going to be this super competitive thing. But everyone's got their life. It's not like college where you're just going to school and you're swimming.
Yeah.
They've got people who have kids and husbands and wives and families and jobs, and everybody incorporates running into their life.
Yeah.
But it doesn't take over their life. And we don't have to do it if we don't want to. Because I'm talking, these are women who were All-American in college, went to Olympic trials, top 8 Olympic trials. I mean, these are some serious runners. And for them to still be running, I think they were probably in their late 30s, early 40s at that time, and still be some of the fastest in their age group that alone, I was like, oh my gosh, these are the people that I want to be around.
That's cool. But I think you also touched on another really cool insight, which is that running is a part of your life, and not only you, but your teammates' life. But it's not the sum total of your life.
But it's just your priorities. You know what I mean? We run during the week. We meet at 6 and 6:30, and whoever wants to join can join. But that's when we meet.
Yeah.
And some of us run longer, some of us run shorter, but we meet.
What year was it that you finally broke 3 hours?
I actually did it in a workout.
Wow. Okay.
So I was training for the LA Marathon. I think it was 2017. And I remember it was one of Blue's crazy workouts. We had done the day before, or I had to do on the weekend. It was like a 23-mile run or something. And there was the Surf City, and I was like, oh, I could do this, and I could just do it as a workout.
Yeah.
And I'll just do it as a tempo run and do it as a workout. And I remember going in, and I ran 2:57. And that was the first time I had broken 3. It was some random, I wasn't even training for it, but we were training so much and we were training so hard that that was a workout. A month later, I ran the LA Marathon, and I ran 2:55. And LA Marathon course is, obviously, it's not an easy course. And I was happy with it, but I just felt like I could run faster. I didn't want to be super tired at the end. And I know that sounds crazy because everyone's tired at the end of a marathon, but I didn't want to feel like I was like crawling to the finish line and like struggling.
Yeah. At the time that you ran under 3 hours officially, did you know at that particular point in time you were one of like 15 black women that were born in the States that had done that ever, or at least in terms of...
I just knew I knew there weren't a lot of us, but I didn't know I had no clue. I had no clue, but I would always look and try to find. Going
into, at the end of 2018, 2019, you start going into like 100-mile weeks.
I was just determined to do it, and it was like, okay, I'm like, because I have a life, but I would, you're running 12 to 15 miles a day, and then you've got your long runs on the weekends, which you would think those were long already, but you're like, oh wait, I have to run 24 miles or 23 miles on the weekend on one day, you know what I mean? And then you're a 14-mile recovery, And so, but I got used to doing it.
Yeah.
And when I figured out that on the recovery days, you really need to run slow, that was a game changer for me.
I was able to see you on the day of the Expo, the day before, not the LA Marathon. You said to me that you wanted to just have fun. That was your goal, that was your mindset going in. Take me through like the race day itself.
I felt it was the best I'd ever felt leading up to a marathon.
Okay.
And that week before, you just don't feel good sometimes because your mileage is low and you're just, but I knew that I had so much insurance that
you call miles
whatever, because whatever,
it's
it's like whatever I do, I'm gonna be okay. Like I'm not gonna die. And I'm gonna have fun. I'm gonna. This is the first time I had ever worn like a bikini. I know it sounds like maybe it's a girl thing, but it's like because if you put those on, then you have to run fast.
Okay,
that's kind of this consensus, the general consensus. And so I just did my normal stuff, and I just remember feeling really good, and I wasn't worried about anything. And the first 16 miles was like, it was great. It was great. I remember running, and I only looked down at my watch a couple times. I don't look at my watch. I try not to look at my watch while I'm racing.
Okay.
Because it you know.
Get in your head.
Yeah,
Okay.
because if you're running really fast, you're like, oh my gosh, you know, I feel good, but should I feel good? I've never seen that. So I just don't even bother.
Do you just base it off of feel?
Base it off of feel, and plus they've got the clocks.
Okay, so you'll pay attention to this.
Yeah, I'll pay attention
to
to.
Doing one of these.
Yeah, I can't do it.
I
can't do it. And I just remember getting to San Vicente, you know, at 26th Street, because that's where it really starts to, you know, go down.
Yeah.
And that's when I looked at my watch, and it had said something like I was on pace to run like 2:47, and I was like, I almost freaked out. I was like, oh my gosh, like I don't, you know, it was a scary number.
Yeah.
And so but I just kept going, and I didn't even realize that I was in first place.
Yeah.
And it was a really good feeling. And once I turned onto ocean, you know, you feel like you're in the Olympics. You know what I mean? You feel like you've got all these people cheering. They don't even know you. They're just seeing you run. And I remember seeing Blue, and I remember seeing this other guy, Sean, and I remember seeing a couple of people just going, oh my gosh, you got this. And I'm like, oh my gosh. And I just ran, and that's why I had a smile on my face when I crossed. I always get teary.
Oh. It's okay. Need tissue?
I'm okay. And yeah, it's I usually cry before marathons. I usually cry when I'm on the starting line. And but I was so happy when I finished, and I couldn't believe it. And it was like, it said 2:48:03. And I remember seeing the clock thinking, oh my God, maybe I can get under 2:48. And hey, I'd take 2:48:03, you know? And so, and from then, that's when I thought, maybe I can qualify for Olympic trials, you know?
That's big. Ingrid.
Because I did they have that, I don't know, marathon comparison where you can, you know, if you run this time at this race and you know can run this time at that race, then my life changed. Yeah.
So let's talk about that.
I actually noticed it before the LA Marathon. I noticed it about a month before the LA Marathon, and I had you know, I wasn't doing a self-check at all. I was just in the shower, you know. I wear these loofah gloves, so I'm always like, you know, I want my skin soft. And so I'm, you know, rubbing under my arm, and I feel these lumps under my right arm. But I know we have lymph nodes there, and I know they get swollen, so it wasn't a big deal to me. Then after my break, I had gone to New York, actually, because I did conversation pace. I did with Nicole.
Yes,
so
yeah, cool.
I had gone there, and I remember I was in the hotel, and I felt it again, but it was bigger.
Oh, okay.
And I was like, oh, I need to get these checked. And so I made an appointment, and yeah, came back, and they said that I had breast cancer.
What went through your mind as she was giving you that information?
It was shock and disbelief. I was a little embarrassed. It was.
Why embarrassed?
Because I just won a marathon. What do you mean I have breast cancer? You know, and it's just, I thought, what did I do wrong? Did I do something? You know, what all kinds of stuff went through my head. And then I asked her, I said, am I going to die? And she said, no. And I was like, okay. Well, if I'm not going to die, then, you know, it's not like she's saying I have a year to live, you know, and, you know, we caught it too late and all this stuff. So I just said, you know, just put this, tell me what's next. And then after that, and then she wrote it down. Yeah. And then and she said, just make sure you tell your family and your friends. And then I thought, oh, I don't want to tell anybody. I don't want to tell anyone. I'll tell my parents, but, you know, maybe my close friends, but I just didn't want to tell anyone.
How come?
I was really embarrassed. It's really weird. I had that embarrassed feeling of just, you know, oh, you're supposed to be this athlete and you can't even take care of your body, you know? And I felt like, oh, I missed my mammogram and but she had said it was in my body it had been growing for the last 2 to 5 years.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And so, and I wasn't getting 3D mammograms, I was getting regular mammograms. And so it was just, and then I think I skipped one. So, self-checks are very important.
Yeah.
Self-checks are really important, and just doing the mammogram every year.
How did you break the news to your family?
Well, yeah, it was weird because I just got on the phone and I said, well, they just said it was cancer. And my dad was like, okay, all right. And he just sort of, and then he said, okay, well, what's the next step? It was kind of like how I asked her, and told my mom and a couple of friends, and everyone was so great. You can't do it by yourself. I mean, you can, but it's not something you would want to do by yourself. And I hope no one ever has to go through it by themselves, because it really is not, it's just, you have good days and you have bad days, and I think the support of my family and my friends, I had to, because once I finally got a grip and, it was like, wait, I'm not going to have breasts at the end of August. Not that I was a breast person anyway, but it's just, it was like, I'm like, wait, they're going to be gone. And it really was, everyone was really wonderful. But I also had to make sure that everyone was on the same emotional place that I was at, because I wasn't sad. I wasn't crying. I wasn't being like, why me? And I was like, okay, let's do this. Yeah. Let's figure out how to do this. That's why I didn't post anything. That's why I didn't, and it's nothing against anybody that does post it, because everyone has their own way of dealing with stuff.
Absolutely.
And so I just chose not to do that until I was done.
Yeah.
And then I'll be like, hey guys, guess what I was doing the last year? So, but I really had to get to a place with my friends and my family to where, look, I'm not going to die. Don't feel sorry for me. I'm still going to run. And, it's just, there's no crying. there's no crying.
What made you want to keep running those longer miles?
That's what my body's used to. I love to sweat.
Yeah.
I know how I feel after a run.
Yeah.
So I figure, well, if I'm going through this, then I want to feel the best I could possibly feel, having, just emotionally as well.
Yeah.
Because I had a couple of other biopsies and everything in April, and then my surgery wasn't scheduled until August.
Okay.
So I had those months to just chill and just run, and I had to do more biopsies, and those aren't fun, and because they're needle biopsies, and it's just so I would be out for a week or two after each one, but once my scar would heal, I'm like, okay, I'm back to running again. And so I wanted to keep whatever fitness I had. But the funny thing is, I feel like after they told me that I had it, I knew I had it. So I almost felt like, would they have told me, if they told me I had it before the marathon, would I have run that fast? Would I have? Because it's amazing what, if you're told something like that, you could choose to be like, oh, woe is me, or I can't run, or I can't do this or that. But if they don't tell you, you're just going to continue doing what you've been doing.
Yeah.
Without, me thinking I'm tired because I've just, finished. Got over a 100-mile week cycle.
Yeah.
Not because I have cancer in my body. So that was really interesting, because there is a thing called cancer fatigue.
Okay.
Which I think I felt, while I was running before my surgeries. But I just kept running. Because it felt good.
What do you want people to take away from your overall story as a breast cancer survivor now? Well,
one of the things I do want to say is you don't have to run 50-mile weeks if you're going through chemo. Like I don't ever want to come across as someone who's just like, no, this is what you have to do in order to feel better, and that was just for me. That's what I had to do for me, but I do think that it's important to move your body. It's okay to sweat. It's okay to, go on hikes. It's okay to, I didn't stop my life at all. I didn't. There are days when I would sleep more than others. Yes. because my chemo was on Wednesdays, so I'd always feel like crap on Saturday. So Saturday was my day to just sleep all day.
Okay.
Not run, I didn't do anything. And then you kind of go back up again, you rev back up again by Sunday. But I just think it's important to keep your mind clear and be around people that are going to not feel sorry for you. It was really important to me it was really important to have support, but it just had to be how I wanted it to be. And I know that sounds selfish, but I think you have a choice you have a choice in whether you're going to be happy or not. You have a choice. I had a choice whether to take that news and be like, and think, oh my gosh, I could have ran with the, being embarrassed and not done anything.
Yeah.
But I had to really try to understand why I felt that embarrassment and then move on from it.
Yeah.
And so it's just it's important to exercise. It really is. And it's so weird because I had a lot of time on my hands. I was always looking up athletes who had cancer.
Okay.
I would like professional athletes who had cancer, female athletes who've had breast cancer, female Olympians who've had breast cancer. And there are some, but there's no, and even they were working out, they were, doing their thing. And there was another woman who was going to go to Olympics, and she found out right after I found out about mine. And, and I could say her name because she's all over. Shantae Lowe, have you seen? Yeah. She's training for the Olympics this year.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I mean, that's amazing to
right.
me. It'll be her 5th Olympics or something, and she's got a husband and kids, and, her story's incredible. And she's a high jumper. So their training is different. But at the same time, she's doing her sit-ups and her this and all her stuff. And but she took everybody through her whole thing, which was really interesting. Yeah. And I don't think you have to have an Olympic mindset either to go through something like this. I think that it's important that the hospitals and the doctors really encourage people to move. And I know they kind of do, but I don't think they do it enough, because my doctors shouldn't be shocked that I was running.
Thank you for being so open. Your life did not stop.
No.
You continued running. You continued auditioning. You are an actress. Mm-hmm. You've done some stuff.
Yeah.
Right? you've been in a few things. Baywatch, leveraging some of your swimming background as well. Amistad, not necessarily the type of swimming that a person would imagine.
But they needed a swimmer.
They needed a swimmer.
And they needed a black swimmer. So
you had one of the most iconic moments in Amistad that a lot of people don't talk about more, which I think is which is the boat scene. So I think a lot of people think about Amistad and think "Give us free," but I think about the boat scene, and you got a baby in hand, and rather than go be a potential slave any longer.
And have my child taken from me,
You go off the boat, and it's like one of the first things that shows up in your reel. And it was so crazy when I saw it. I'd already known you for a couple of years, and when I saw it, I was like, "That's you!" I never even put the two things together. So I'd love to hear your perspective on just what auditioning is like, even pursuing work right now during a pandemic. Are you going into physical places? Are you doing things online?
No. It's. I mean, I shot a commercial before Christmas.
Okay.
So it was very COVID, safe. Okay. Very COVID safe. It was, it just makes the days longer.
Okay.
Do you know what I mean? Because everything is so, you have to wear your mask in between takes and isn't that?
Yeah.
And now all auditions are self-taped.
Okay.
So the setup here, this is what basically people have in their living rooms now.
Wow. Okay.
And they're booking off of, even if they have to do a redirect, it's you got to do it all over again. You know what I mean? And then send in something else. And so they book people off of tapes. But if it's something really big, they'll do chemistries, but you have to, you go to the COVID test. There's so many protocols, so many. So people aren't just, going on sets and it's just yay, we're back to work. Everything's the same. It's not at all. they're very, very strict because everyone's so happy to be back, and there's so many things happening right now.
Yeah.
There's so much going on that no one wants to mess up. You don't want to mess it up, It's because if one person gets it, then they have to shut down production for a while, and they have to kind of figure out where it was from, and so it's just everyone just follows whether you agree with it or not.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? If you want a job, if you want to work, this is what you have to do. You can argue about it afterwards, but this is what is getting to get your paycheck. So but it's fun. I actually enjoy it, and you can do your takes as many times as you want until you get it right.
What's one of the unique things about the fact that you're doing
that?
Okay.
That you can, but it's also different because you aren't in a room with, the writer and the producer and, everyone that you would normally be in a room with who can give you feedback. So you really have to be creative. Mm-hmm. And you have to kind of maybe go outside of what's written because they're looking at so many. Because now since it's self-tapes, they can see more people.
Got it.
So
are you taping yourself? Do you have someone come in?
I have someone that I read with, and we help each other. She helps me out, and it's my acting coach.
Okay, cool.
And it's great.
All right.
And it's you have to have a reader. You've got to do a lot of things. A lot of times you'll have callbacks will be like a Zoom callback with the director or the producer, and and you're on the other side, and that's just how it is right now. Okay. That's just how it is, and it's probably going to be like that for a very long. I can't imagine them going back into in-person auditions, but I also don't have to drive to Burbank every day, or you don't have to drive. You have to sit in traffic every day.
Yeah.
That's the real good upside of it is that, there's no. I was late because there was an accident on the 10. Well, you can't use that excuse anymore, even if it was true. Yeah. There's none of that. So there's a lot of flexibility in it as well, and it actually helps me find my lighting and. I'm learning how to use the camera. I'm learning how to, there's stuff that I didn't know. It when you're on set.
Yeah.
But when you have to do it yourself, you're like, oh my God, this is harder than you think it is. Now I know why lighting people are so good. I know why this person was so mad that they got lit bad or whatever. Yeah. You know what I mean? This is kind of serious, So it's fun to learn all of the new things too.
Yeah. So you mentioned you shot a commercial back in December. Is there anything you can talk about yet or no?
Well, it was, and I will share the story because this is what happens sometimes, and this is why you should never share anything that you say that you did unless you see your face on that TV screen. But I shot it. It was for Bud Light, and it was great. It was a really fun spot, and I was an astronaut. And I was like, oh, they're gonna have a black astronaut. That's great,
Yeah.
And it was a huge Camp Super Bowl spot.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, waiting. I'm telling everyone, I shot a Super Bowl spot. And I wasn't in it. I wasn't in it. It was me and another guy. Our little segment wasn't in it. And it would have been really funny if it was. But it was, and that happens.
Okay.
Sometimes it just happens. It's not like they didn't like you or whatever. It's just last minute things. And you just weren't in. So it's, but I do have something coming up that I'm not going to say anything until I actually get it, and then I will tell you.
Okay.
Then I will tell you. But it's a fun project, and it's TV. It's for a television show. So I will let you know.
You swam collegiately, and you run marathons really, really fast. Like those three things aren't necessarily typical when you look like us. It's just not the thing that comes up in a conversation.
Right.
So I wonder, if you're out in an event or something like that, and you introduce yourself, hey, my name is Ingrid, and someone asks you what do you do? How do you even respond?
Or someone will say, oh, you're an athlete?
Yeah.
And they're like, yeah. And they're like, oh, what did you play? And I'm like, oh, I played swimming. And that could, because people aren't even thinking, them saying, what did you play?
Right.
They're not thinking, oh, did you swim?
Yeah.
Nobody's thinking that.
Right.
And it's always funny to see people's reaction. They're like, oh, you swam. Oh, wow.
Yeah.
It's like, but there was a guy at UCLA, Byron Davis. He swam, and he was gonna go to the Olympics as well. He just had one of those bad Olympic trials. You know what I mean? But he's a public speaker. He talks about the importance of swimming. With the young black kids are the 10 times more likely to drown. And we just need to. I've talked about this, and I hope to keep on, talking about it as well, of just having more swim programs in cities where there are black people. Do you know what I mean? I hate saying inner cities because it's just wherever there's black people.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Let's just, it doesn't have. It can just be, because a lot of the times, because they close down the pools, and we like to swim. I don't know where this idea came from that we don't.
Yeah.
You go to a lot of public schools and there's a lot of black kids swimming in the pool. I'm not sure why there's no swim programs there.
Yeah.
So I hope to somehow figure that out too, because it's just really important. You should know how to swim. I don't even remember learning how to swim. I have no clue. And my dad's just like, oh no, I had you swim lessons, and but my dad was also a Marine, and he was he was also, you know what I mean? He was also a captain of the Marine Corps, and he loved scuba diving, and so, it was just one of those important things. Like, you learn how to walk, you learn how to swim.
I appreciate having you here.
Thank you.
And one of the things that I like about having you here is that I know that there are women who are getting into running now. Like
a lot of women, yeah.
And I would love for you to be able to impart some wisdom. The floor is yours. I want something that specifically women can grab from you.
Wow, yeah. Just being on a team with all women was like, I didn't think I would like it.
Yeah.
But I love it.
Okay.
And doesn't mean that you can't ever run with men.
Yeah.
But because actually there's a lot of fast guys too, and it's I just think running with people is just a lot different than I thought it was going to be, which I like it a lot more. But I think a lot of the times we just have to be patient. I think a lot of women put a lot of pressure on themselves to be like, oh, I've got to be super mom, I've got to be super wife, I have to do everything for everybody else, and then like you start doing all this is from what I see. Like, I'm not married, I don't have any kids, but I'm surrounded by people that do.
Okay.
But I still have a life too, but it's not that life.
Yes.
It just wasn't my choices. Those are choices I made, but because I've seen women do this, it's important to take time for yourself. You have to. I see a lot of moms who aren't runners that are, who want to maybe start doing it or want to start running, or a lot of women who are working a lot who forget about taking care of themselves, whether it's mentally, physically, and running is free. You know what I mean? You just got to buy the shoes. You can do it anywhere. And I think that there's so many women that have gotten into running in the last, I'd say 5 years, that we're getting faster. Like my 47-year-old self running in that race and winning it, that's going to be nothing in the future, because you've got, who's 42, 43? She's going to the Olympics, I think, for Australia. She was a 225, 220. She's got 2 kids. She's in her 40s. And there are so many women past the age of 40 that are killing it. And so it's going to be normal. And I think that's what I hope. I hope that we don't have to talk. I hope we can talk about this maybe from 60, doing it. But I think that's kind of over. I feel like the over 40 talk of, oh, you're not gonna be able to do this or get faster after you have kids, or it's just not true. And I think that's with anyone, regardless if you're up here and if you're an elite level, if you're an amateur, if you're just starting out running,
Yeah.
you know, I always tell people who say, "Oh, I can't run," or "I wish I could do a marathon. I don't think I can do one." I said, "Do you know how many people?" I go, "There's 20,000 people that run the LA Marathon. Do you think all 20,000 of those people thought they could run a marathon? No, they didn't. And a lot of them have had injuries, they've had surgeries, they've had knee problems, they've had all these things because everyone will always go to their injury that they had,
Yeah.
you know. And I'm not to say that that's not, not take those serious, but it's possible to overcome those things. You know, I love seeing when people, I'll introduce someone to the Roadrunners or LA Leggers, and next thing you know, they're like, "Hey, I did 20 miles today. I never run over 2 miles before."
Yeah.
I mean, it's what a great, and this is someone who never thought that they could run, and they've lost weight and they feel good. And so I feel like, you know, that's how I, you know, that's what I would say, you know, and that's how I would approach any women that want to get into running, and just be patient, you know, because you're going to start out and it's going to hurt. It's not going to feel good at first because your body is adjusting to all of the, you know, your muscles and your this, and you're going to be tired. And, but take the time for yourself, you know, take that hour in the morning. You might have to get up super early. You know, you might have to get up super early, but find that there's always that one person that'll get up with you. You know, join a running club. There's so many of them, and everyone's like, "Oh, I'm not fast." You don't have to be. There's your pace is there somewhere. Yeah. And then guess what's going to happen? You're going to start getting faster if you're consistent, because as long as you're consistent and you're going to get better. That's just how it is.
With everything going on right now, just in the world, things are going on with you. Like, how are you approaching goal setting?
Still have my goals. I am a huge David Goggins fan, so I listened to his book.
Okay.
I've got my accountability mirror up with my little pasty notes on it.
Okay.
You know, and it's funny because I've had to take some off because I've accomplished them. And I like goals, but I also think that you can never have too many of them. And I feel like sometimes people limit their goals, you know, and I've got a goal for every little area of my life, every little tiny area of my life. I've some type of something that I want to be better at.
Okay. Doing
that one thing. And you know, we're not going to be in this forever. And it's kind of like preparing for a race, a marathon. You don't know what's going to happen race day. You have no clue. But you can do a damn good job in the 4 months leading up to it to make sure that you have a pretty good day, regardless of if it rains, regardless of there's some stuff you can't do anything about.
Yeah.
You know, and I had a friend that PR'd in that crazy Boston year when it was raining. 8-minute PR.
Wow.
2:42 she ran. You know what I mean? And so I always think about her because, you know, when everyone was complaining about that race, she PR'd by 8 minutes in it. So I think, I know we see everything that's happening and we watch the news and I try not to watch the news, or if I do, I don't let it go. I don't let it get in very far. And just because you see things doesn't mean that, you know, you have to believe them. You know what I mean? I feel like you have a choice to be happy, and nobody can take that from you. And, you know, setting goals, it should never stop, regardless if we're in a pandemic, regardless of whatever happens, because, you know, we could still run. I mean, there's always, we have to figure out ways to do it differently.
Yeah.
You just do. I mean, or else you're just going to be depressed and sad and sitting at home and, you know, eating too much, or, you know what I mean? You're just going to start doing the things that you don't want to do anyway. You don't want to do in the first place. So, you know, and it goes along the lines of, you know, when was going through treatment and all that, I was like, nope, I'm not stopping my life. I'm going to have my birthday party. I'm going to go out with my friends. I'm going to drink wine. I'm going to, you know what I mean? I'm going to go on auditions. I'm going to, and if something comes up and I can't do it, then I don't go. Then I don't do it.
So much going on. I'm with you also on, I only consume as much news as I need to get the key piece of information, and then I turn it off because it's just
it's gonna get into your head. It's gonna get into your head, and you're gonna start to. It's gonna start to run you, and I don't want anyone to. No one can. Stop my blessings. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like no one can stop your blessings, really. Not to get too religious, but they really can't. You know what I mean? Like you really can't, because you get and a lot of times because there's so much negativity in the world, and is one of the things that when I was going through that whole experience, positive. Even if that's not you, then we can't hang out.
Yeah.
Like it's nothing against you. It's nothing against, that I don't want that in my life.
I am obsessed with billboards. I think they're a cool way to grab people's attention.
I love it.
If you had a billboard and you could put anything on it for the world to see, what would your billboard say?
If you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change.
Ingrid, this has been beyond dope. Thank you for coming out here. I appreciate it. I know that people are going to want to be able to connect with you. What's the best way to connect with you, like by way of social or
Instagram?
Okay.
I'm not on it that much, but when I am, I do check it, and it's always fun to meet people. And I've met a lot of breast cancer survivors. I've met a lot of women going through breast cancer that are running.
Okay.
So yeah.
And what's your Instagram handle?
At Ingrid Walt. Yes.
Okay.
Ingrid Walt.
I'll put it in the description. Just that goes to show how often you're on there. All right, great. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
This has been dope.
Great.
I'll see everyone next time. Jordan Thomas. Peace.